3 siblings, 1 inheritance, and a secret buried so deep it could destroy them all. In a quiet town in Delta State, the death of a wealthy father sparks a war of blood, betrayal, and buried truths. This isn't just a fight for property, it's a fight for identity, justice, and survival. What happens when family turns against itself? Watch till the end, and please don't forget to subscribe. The whole town of Otorho stood still when news broke that Chief Okemute Itejere was dead. People couldn't believe it. He was strong just the week before, walking with his staff, shouting at his guards, giving orders. Now he was gone. Just like that. His wife, Mama Alero, didn't cry loud. She just sat on the cold floor of the parlor, her wrapper loose, staring at nothing. Her first son, Oganatega, arrived the same night. He didn't talk much, just sat beside his mother and held her hand. Erhir came from Wari 2 days later. She didn't greet anyone, went straight to her old room and locked the door. She didn't sleep that night. Okiemian didn't look too sad. He was busy arranging chairs, shouting at cooks, drinking beer with his friends. "Make sure the musicians arrive early," he said. On the day of the burial, the compound was packed. The casket was big, polished, expensive. They buried Chief Okemute like a king, but the air was tense. People whispered. Everyone could feel it. Something was not right in that family. Even the earth that swallowed him that day seemed to know this was not the end. It was the beginning. 40 days after the burial, the family gathered again. This time, there were no drums, no guests, just silence. The compound felt colder. Mama Alero sat on the same chair she had during the burial, her hands shaking as the family lawyer, Mr. Egbe, opened a brown envelope. He cleared his throat. "This is Chief Okemute's will." Oganatega sat quietly, head down. Erhire folded her arms, staring hard at the floor. Okiemian leaned back, chewing gum, acting unbothered. Mr. Egbe began. "To Oganatega, I leave the family house and the land around it. To Erhire, I leave the palm oil factory and my Wari estate. To Okiemian, I leave a letter." Everything stopped. Okiemian stood slowly. "What did you say?" Mr. Egbe handed him the letter. Okiemian tore it open and read. His face changed. He shouted, "So I'm useless now, after all I've done? He said I must approve myself before I get anything?" He threw the paper at the ground. Erhir looked away. Oganatega said nothing. Mama Alero began to cry silently. She had begged her husband to change that part of the will, but he refused. Now, everything was about to fall apart, and she could already see it coming. The days after the will were cold and heavy. Oganatega tried to keep things quiet, but nothing felt normal. Okiemian refused to move out of the family house. He walked around like a landlord, shouting at the staff, giving orders. "Don't answer to anyone but me," he told the gate man. One morning, Oganatega returned from the farm and saw men working on a section of the land. A bulldozer was clearing the trees. "What's going on here?" he asked. A man said, Okiemian sold this part to one Mr. Jude. We're here to start work." Oganatega's chest tightened. He stormed into the house and met Okimen eating bread and beans in the living room. "You sold the land." Okimen looked up slowly. "I did. It was just sitting there. I needed cash." "You had no right," Oganatega shouted. "I have every right. I'm still his son." Mama Alero heard the argument from her room. She sat on the bed, frozen. Erhairi called from Wari later that day. When she heard what happened, she said she was coming home. That night, Mama Alero couldn't sleep. She looked at her husband's old photo and whispered, "You've started a fire I can't put out." Erhair arrived from Wari early the next morning. She didn't greet anyone. She went straight to her mother's room and locked the door with her. "Mama," she said, "this is getting out of hand. What's really going on in this house?" Mama Alero sat quietly for a long time. Her eyes were red, face pale. Then, slowly, she spoke. "Before I married your father, I was already pregnant. The man I loved died in a car accident. I didn't tell anyone. Your father married me and raised the child as his own. Erhire's heart dropped. You mean Oganatega? Mama Alero nodded. Yes, but your father knew. He chose to carry the shame in silence. Tears rolled down Erhire's cheeks. Why are you telling me now? Because if I die without saying the truth, I will not rest. Later that day, Erhire told Okiemen everything. His eyes lit up with something dark. He laughed hard. So he's not even Papa's blood? And they gave him everything? Erhire begged him not to do anything foolish. But Okiemian was already planning something. That night, Mama Alero prayed longer than usual. Her voice shook as she whispered, Lord, please stop my son from bringing shame. It was market day in Otoro. Traders shouted prices. Buyers haggled. The sun was high. Without warning, Okiemen climbed onto a wooden bench in the center of the market. Everybody listen, he shouted. People turned. Some dropped their baskets. Children ran forward. Okiemen pointed toward the crowd. You see that man called Oganatega? The one they say inherited Papa's land? He's not even Papa's real son. Gasps, murmurs, eyes widened. He is a bastard. His real father died before Papa married Mama, and they hid it like fools. A woman covered her mouth. An elder shook his head. This boy has no fear, someone whispered. Oganatega stood nearby, frozen. His heart pounded, but he didn't say a word. He turned around and walked away. He walked all the way home, entered his room, and began packing. That night, he left the compound. No one knew where he went. When Mama Alero heard what happened, she collapsed. Erhire rushed her to the hospital in Ugeli. Her blood pressure was dangerously high. In her hospital bed, Mama Alero turned her face to the wall and wept. I should have told the truth long ago, she whispered. Now my children are enemies, and it's all my fault. With Oganatega gone and Mama Alero in the hospital, Okiemian felt untouchable. He moved freely around the compound, drinking, laughing, and bragging. He started throwing parties again. Loud music filled the air. Strangers came and went. One night, he told his friends, I may not have the land now, but I'll still live like a king. But trouble was brewing. Okiemian had borrowed money from local land buyers in Sapele. He promised them plots of land and gave them fake documents. Documents he signed using Oganatega's name. It didn't take long before the truth surfaced. The buyers returned, angry and ready to fight. They stormed the compound one morning, shouting, You lied to us! This land is not even yours! Mama Alero, still recovering, was rushed back to the hospital after hearing the shouting. 2 days later, police officers arrived. They arrested Okiemian for forgery and land fraud. He was handcuffed in front of the neighbors. His friends disappeared. In the station, he sat on the cold floor, alone. No drinks, no music, no family. That night, he cried. For the first time, not from anger, but from fear. The pride was gone, and all that was left was a broken man. The call came on a quiet morning. Mama Alero was not eating. Her condition was getting worse. The nurse said, She keeps calling for her son. Erhire called Oganatega. She didn't know if he would answer. He did. 3 hours later, Oganatega arrived at the hospital. He looked thinner, tired, but his eyes were calm. When Mama Alero saw him, she broke down in tears. My son, she whispered, forgive me. Oganatega knelt by the bed and held her hand. You are my mother. Nothing will ever change that. They cried together. No more secrets. No more pride. The next day, Oganatega went to the police station. He saw Okiemian sitting in a corner, bruised and alone. For a few minutes, they just stared at each other. I didn't come to save you, Oganatega said softly. I came to tell you I forgive you. Okiemen's lips trembled. He tried to speak, but words failed him. He covered his face and wept. Tell Mama I'm sorry, he whispered. When Oganatega left the station, He felt something he hadn't felt in weeks: peace. It didn't fix everything, but it was a beginning, a quiet one, the kind that doesn't come with noise, but with healing. Weeks passed. Mama Alero's strength slowly returned. The doctors said her body was healing, but it was her heart that needed time. Erhair stayed by her side, helping with baths, feeding her, brushing her hair. One morning, Oginatega returned to the house, not to claim it, but to clean it. The compound was quiet now. No music, no noise, just birds and the sound of a broom sweeping the dust. Erhair came back home that evening. She saw her brother sweeping and said nothing at first. Then, slowly, she knelt down beside him and picked up a second broom. "I was angry at you," she said, "not because of what you got, but because I thought you never struggled like I did." Oginatega looked at her. "We all struggled. We just carried it differently." They swept in silence. That week, they visited Mama Alero together. When she saw them smiling, she started crying again. But this time, it was from relief. Okiemin was still in prison, but he had sent a letter. In it, he wrote, "I thought I wanted land, but what I really needed was to be loved, to be seen." Mama Alero folded the letter gently. "Maybe," she said, "there's still hope." Time passed, and the house that once echoed with arguments began to find peace. Oginatega turned part of the family land into something new, a community library and learning center. He named it after their father, the Okiamute Center for Growth. Children came in uniforms, carrying notebooks. Elders gathered under trees to read newspapers. For the first time, the land was not just a memory. It was a gift to others. Erhair returned to Wari, but she didn't go back to her old life. She started a mentorship group for young girls. She called it Grace Circle, in honor of her mother. She taught them how to speak boldly, how to run businesses, and how not to let anger shape their future. Mama Alero, now walking with a cane, spent her days in the compound, giving out food to widows every market day. She never missed it. "They carried me when I was weak," she said. "Now it's my turn." When Okiemin finally came out of prison, he didn't throw a party. He came home quietly, carrying only a small bag and a letter for each of them. Oginatega opened his first. It simply read, "Thank you for not giving up on me." And that was enough. The house in Otorho no longer felt like a battlefield. The noise was gone, the anger softened. It wasn't perfect, but it was healing. Okiemin moved into a small room at the back of the compound. No one forced him out. He chose it himself. He spent most of his time in the backyard, planting cassava and yams. Quiet, slow, different. Sometimes he joined Mama Alero on her chair under the mango tree. They didn't always talk, but their silence had meaning. One afternoon, Erhair came visiting. She brought fruits and a new wrapper for their mother. The three siblings sat under the tree. It was the first time in many years they were together without shouting. "I used to think land was the most important thing," Oginatega said. Erhair smiled. "I used to think respect only came from winning." Okiemin looked down. "I used to think I didn't matter." Mama Alero wiped her eyes. "You all matter. Your father is gone, but you are still here. Don't waste what you've been given." That evening, as the sun sank over Otorho, the Itajere family sat outside in peace. The land was quiet. The storm had passed. And what remained was love. 1 year later, Otorho looked different. The trees around the compound grew thicker, and the community library now had children reading aloud on the veranda. The name Chief Okimura Itajere was no longer spoken with anger, but with quiet respect. Okiemin still lived in his small room. He didn't ask for more. He worked on the farm, taught some boys how to use tools, and sometimes helped at the library. One day, Mama Alero called him inside. She handed him a file. "This was left with the lawyer. Your father told him to wait a year." Inside was a simple letter. "If you are reading this, it means you chose change." I couldn't carry you forever, but I never stopped loving you. The Sapel warehouse and 2 plots beside the oil mill are yours, if you remain true. Okiamin sat still for a long time. Then he looked at his mother. I'll build something useful, he said. Not for me, for everyone. He didn't cry, but his eyes stayed wet as he walked outside. He didn't become rich. He became whole. And somehow, that was the inheritance his father wanted him to find all along. In the end, inheritance is not about land or money. It is about truth, love, and peace. What is built on secrets will fall. What is built on love will stand. The end. If this story touched your heart, please share, comment, and subscribe to my channel for more interesting African stories. See you next time, and thanks for watching.